Let's talk about dogs. Everyone loves dogs. Do you like dogs?
Oh, no.
All right. Well, let's talk about dog bites.
Talk about dog bites.
Okay. So let me give you a scenario.
Okay.
I'm going to go right into it. Scenario 1, I'm walking down the street and Cujo comes out of nowhere and bites me in the arm. Like, who do you sue?
So we're always looking at the owner of the dog. Dog bite under New York state law is a strict liability claim as long as the owner knew or should have known that the dog had a vicious propensity. And
Okay.
the easiest way to show a vicious propensity is, has the dog bitten somebody in the past? And I think probably 80% of our cases that we have dog bite cases, the dog has bit somebody in the past. And then other cases, it hasn't, but we try to show that the dog or the dog owner knew the dog was vicious because of other things that they did. Aggressively barking, growling, jumping on people, the way the dog has acted towards other dogs in the past.
Okay.
And
So what if it's like a loose, even if it's a loose dog, it doesn't matter whether it was like leashed or unleashed. Should they like
Well,
kind of
the-
same situation?
yeah, there's some question about if a dog is unleashed and they're not following a rule, does that, there's leash laws, we have leash laws, that's certainly relevant to the consideration. But by and large, what we're trying to see is, was the dog vicious prior to this bite? And there's also some law that shows the way the dog acted, the viciousness of the bite can be used to show that the dog was actually vicious before the bite, which doesn't make 100% sense, but that's what the law is.
Okay. So if you're the first one to get bit by the dog, it's just harder to prove?
It's harder to prove, and we take those cases, and they are more challenging. They're fought more aggressively by the insurance companies, and sometimes the judges don't agree with them, but we try to show what we can, especially if it's a horrible attack.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of a case that we've done?
Where the dog's bit. So we have a case right now that we're trying to settle where the dog has bit 3 kids in a neighborhood, and our client is the 3rd child this dog has bitten.
Wow.
And we're working on the discovery in that case, and we have the text messages between the parents, next door neighbors, to say, I'm really sorry, this dog's bit 2 other kids. So that's a great example of a dog they know had a vicious propensity, and maybe it wasn't aggressive towards the family members, but they were trying to watch the dog, and the dog keeps getting away and biting kids in the neighborhood. That's not okay.
Okay.
Another case that we resolved in the past was a boy who was at his friend's house and got attacked by a pit bull, got bit in the head. Really, really horrible attack on a child. And the dog had never bitten anyone in the past. It was like a 5-year-old, 5-year-old dog,
And this was to the face, right?
yeah, face and head, and horrible attack. And the dog had never bit anyone in the past, and we tried to show that we showed that the dog had been locked up when other people had come over, that there had been comments made that the dogs were crazy, and the dog had been aggressive, went on walks, and tried to go after other dogs in a park and things like that. And that's what we used to show that the owner should have known the dog was aggressive.
Yeah, or maybe it's just a good idea to keep your dogs away from people that they don't know. Just like being proactive.
Right. The other issue that we come across a lot in dog bite cases is the insurance. So we bring a claim against a homeowner who owns a dog, and typically we're making a claim against an insurance policy. Well, some insurance policies don't cover dog bites.
Really?
Yeah.
So then what?
So then we're in a more difficult position. We just did a case where the person didn't have insurance, and it was the person, it was actually a UPS driver, and the same dog had bit about 4 UPS drivers, and so we filed the loss. Luckily, that UPS driver wasn't too badly injured. He had been bit on the leg, and I think we just resolved the case, or maybe.
I feel like you don't want to be known as the house that you can't get your deliveries to. That's
Well, they
probably
had really clear documentation of every UPS driver knew that the dog had bit 3 in the past, and it wasn't the biggest dog, and it would bite the UPS drivers' legs, and eventually, they got to do their job. They got to deliver the packages,
Right.
and
Like toss them out the window and drive by.
So that was actually a guy who owned a farm down in Yates County, and he, I think, felt bad and hired a lawyer, and he settled without insurance. He just paid. He paid our UPS driver. I think he paid him $12,000 for the laceration to the back of his leg.
And I think like some people don't realize like, oh, like you just got bit by your dog, like it's fine, it'll heal. But that's not always true, because I didn't think about the nerves too. Like some people get nerve damage from these bites depending on how extensive they are.
And I would say at least half of our dog bite cases involve pit bulls, very strong, very athletic dogs with tremendous bite strength, and it can be really literally bone-crushing injuries, nerve damage. And the other thing that we see a lot of in dog bite cases is infection. So dogs don't brush their teeth.
Right.
Their saliva, and it's puncture wounds. So a dog bite, they have these big canine incisors.
Yeah.
They puncture down into the meat, and all that bacteria gets in there. And it seems like about half of our cases where it's a dog bite, and then the real injury is the infection that comes a week later or 2 weeks later and can be really horrible.
Really bad. Yeah. I know. I feel bad though that we like blame the dog, kind of like the type of dog. Like they get a bad rap, like pit bulls. Even though pit bulls can be nice dogs, they have this locked jaw though, that like their jaw will lock in, and it's hard for them to unleash it. So like if you get bit by one, it could be potentially really significant.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think all dogs bite, but if a Chihuahua bites somebody, it doesn't have the same life-changing effect on the 7 or 8 year old kid. Just the physical strength.
Yeah. Is it true that some homeowners insurance, like the companies won't cover specific types of dogs, like pit bulls or German Shepherds, and even like I grew up with an Akita, and Akitas I think have been on that list.
Yeah.
So if you get bit by someone and it's not covered, then is it? You just sue them personally?
Yeah, and that's so then the question is, does the person who owns the dog have any assets? So we don't want to put, especially a kid, through a lot of dog bites are very common, at least for us. The people who get bit are oftentimes children. Mm-hmm. And do you want to put a kid through a 2 or 3 year litigation process if the person doesn't have the ability to pay in the end?
Right.
Like, we're looking for the ability to recover, and we're looking for 3 things really in any civil case or injury case. Is there an injury? Did somebody else unlawfully or inappropriately cause that injury, and is there the ability to recover?
Okay.
So you get in dog bite cases, sometimes that ability to recover becomes a question. But the example that I give to people is, if I walk outside and a mentally ill person on the street punches me in the face, well, they're wrong and I'm hurt.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily have the ability to recover from that person. So am I going to bring a lawsuit against that person on the street? Probably not, because we're not going to ever get anything for it.
Yeah. What if you were in a public park, just kidding, like a city-owned park, and that? No, I'm just
I don't think it exactly changes the analysis in this
I get what you're
case.
saying. All right.